To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Now, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for Blight of Humanity. Written and directed by Marian Dora, Blight of Humanity stars... What are these on? A Sunday walk through the late summer landscape leads not only to a small lake, but also to the abyss of human existence. Dominance and oppression, superiority and humiliation serve for an alleged incarnation. What the f*** is that supposed to mean? Hello my lion cubs and welcome to the show. You know how certain celebrities have nicknames for their fans, like Justin Bieber calls his believers, or Taylor Swift who calls her fans poor. Well, I'm thinking lion cubs for you lot. Today we're going to be taking a look at a film from a director that a lot of you lot are not very big fans of for good reason. No, not Lucifer Valentine. I'm afraid we'll never get to see another film from him again, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. Instead, this week we'll be returning to the and vomit-filled well of animal kindness that is the filmography of Marian Dora. And even better, this might be his most nonsensical film yet. Exciting. Blight of Humanity is a lovely walk through the countryside with three people, which starts off pretty chill and ends anything but chill. It's a Marian Dora film, so you know what to expect. It's not going to be any fun at all, and some of you are going to end this video really angry. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. If you're a fan of the channel and want to help me fight the urge to take a bath with a toaster, please consider going over to the Patreon today. And if you don't have $2 but still like the content, please click subscribe. I'm pushing super hard to get to 20k subs as soon as possible, so please click that button and become part of the family. Oh, and for the some of you that don't want to do any of that, I'd just like to remind you, I'm the only one who knows where your mother's buried, so if your family wants the closure they say they so desperately desire, like, subscribe and join the Patreon. Then comment down below that you did that and I'll tell you where your mum's buried. Cheers. But anyway, I'm in the mood to be confused as so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to watch a little person take a dump half the size of himself. This is Blight of Humanity. The movie begins in the foggy countryside as we see various animals and someone plays with a grasshopper. Also, I know what you're thinking. This is a Marian Dora movie and he's not super nice to animals? Well, if anything happens to live animals, I'll make sure to edit around it, but for the people watching the uncut version of this video, expect at least a few dead ones. And literally straight away we see a whole bunch of small animals get got. Why, Marian? Why? We'll talk about this later. We see another piggy as the screeches can be heard and a flock of birds flies away, and then cut to a church and these two benches. Cut to this little fella Varys, this bloke Frack, and this woman Marietta going for a walk. Cut to a drone shot of this graveyard as our heroes walk past it and enter some headstones. The group continues on their journey as Frack makes some small talk and we cut to more images of nature. Cut to them sitting down for a picnic when Varys spits on Frack's head.
Hey, Virus.
I assume it's spit. Bit early for Cut to them passing by this house when a woman peeks out of her window to observe. Next we find them at this tree as Frack talks to Marietta about being an intern and the responsibilities she'll have to take on later. Oh, and don't worry, I don't think we're supposed to understand what's going on yet, or ever, but we'll give it a go.
Du bist natürlich versichert. Aber die zahlen auch nicht für alles. Und schließlich musst du ja auch selbst noch in den Spiegel schauen können. Weißt du?
Verus then throws something at Marietta and is told off by Frack. Frack continues to talk when Verus pushes over a big bit of wood and gets told off again. Back to walking, Frack explains you must not overwhelm them. They don't know their limits, jumping and romping, and it seems like he's talking about children. Verus stops and Marietta goes back, taking his hand and helping him to press on.
Mach dir einfach einen geruhsamen Tag.
Next, we find them sitting once again as Frack continues to chat. Marietta starts choking and Verus hits her on the back, seemingly trying to help, but is told to stop by Frack. Cut to Verus digging stuff out of his belly button and eating it, which is super gross as in the background Marietta frolics. He also picks stuff out of his ear, hair and nose, making me want to instantly vomit. I really don't know why the chewing sounds and eating of bodily waste make me want to be so violently sick, but they do. Having sex with a corpse? Fine. Eating earwax? No thank you. And this goes on for a while. Cut to Frack explaining to Marietta that each of these unknown subjects have their own unique problems that she'll have to figure out and deal with. He continues while changing Verus's diaper as a nearby farmer gets on with his work. And no, I haven't missed the fact that Frack has hung the diaper out to dry rather than getting rid of it, which makes me very anxious. Knowing Marian Dora, that's gonna turn up as someone's dinner plate in the third act. Verus then pisses on Marietta and catches a slap for it from Frank, which knocks out one of his teeth. Cut to them chilling and having a smoke as Verus cries to himself. We see that they're burning holes in this thing which holds Verus's tooth in the center. Marietta tries to offer Verus a smoke, but instead he lashes out, hitting her in the stomach and causing her to double over. Frack then leans down to comfort Marietta, as does Verus, before allowing the tooth to fall into the cup. Cut to surprise, surprise, even more walking as Frack explains you have to give so much of yourself. It's not an easy job, but it's fun and fulfilling.
Also, die Arbeit am Menschen. Oder so ähnlich.
Working with humans? What the f are you going on about, mate? I had a grip on this thinking they were a family and Frack was preparing Marietta for motherhood, but now making the distinction of humans throws that out the window. Who are these people? Why is Frack the only one talking? When are we gonna get to see the inside of Marietta's arsehole? Speaking about Verus, Frack says he is what he is as Verus puts leaves in Marietta's hair. He mimics everything, many do, everything he sees and experiences. Verus then kicks Marietta down and Frack gets a cheeky squeeze on her boob before helping her back up and stating he will get what he deserves. Cut to them chilling on a rock when Verus starts to play with Marietta's hair. Frack jumps in and pulls Verus's balls out, then grabs his to teach him a lesson. Verus screams up at the sky and they leave as Frack tells the girl that that's the way to do it, otherwise he thinks he can get away with anything. Cut to more gorgeously gothic shots of the countryside and this scarecrow, then to the gang arriving at a lake. Frack undresses himself, then Verus, and the pair jump into the water while Marietta eats a sandwich. A ham sandwich? They splash about in the water and Verus laughs as we cut around the area seeing spiders and ducks. We see Marietta playing with Verus, him playing with bugs, and Frack pissing in the lake, and again, this goes on for a while. I don't know about you, but I am very, very bored. When is someone going to eat someone else's shit? Little man hugs Marietta and we cut to Verus and Frack catching a fish in a puddle. Frack then forces a stick up through the fish, which makes Marietta vomit. He tells Verus to get the other fish, which he picks up before removing the stick and shoving it back in. He then sticks the fish for a bit before crushing it and throwing the mess away. Cut to Frack discussing humans' internal evolution.
Wesentlich langsamer als äußerlich. Mit innerlich meine ich jetzt die Organe und so. Also das Innere des Körpers.
Marietta doesn't seem to be paying attention and instead plays with the reed as Frack prepares the fire. He talks about how humans successfully reproduce en masse and evolve, but Verus will have little chance at best getting with some of his own type. Marietta then gets up to go and take a leak. That's when Veras jumps out of the bushes and tries to grab at her underwear, with Frack saying it's because of earlier, now he wants to do it like that with you. Whatever that means. We then see Marietta strike Veras, and that's when the mood suddenly changes.
Meint es nicht böse.
Cut to Frack laying out food and scolding Marietta for hitting Veras. He says Veras will never forgive her, but she pulls a puppet out and he immediately does. Moving on. Cut to the group eating and Marietta shoving this thing into Veras' mouth. Veras makes horrible noises, choking down the meat as Frack munches away. Veras then warms up to Marietta, again stroking her hair. Frack gets involved and we cut to a duck, then back to Marietta eating. Veras comes in with the puppet, then starts to get a bit handsy, and when she tries to push him away, Frack tells her he means her no harm. Veras then punches her in the stomach, causing the woman to vomit into the lake. Frack asks if she's alright and knocks Veras back when he comes over, only to then check on him when he sees that the man is bleeding. Marietta then goes to see if he's okay, and Frack knocks her away, saying it's her fault too. The mood sours once more as Marietta begins to cry when Veras attacks her, grabbing her by the face and forcing her into the mud. Frack splits them up and we see multiple shots of dead animals on spikes before cutting back to Veras pushing bugs into Marietta's face. Veras then starts picking her nose when we cut back to all the dead animals, and the sound of Veras beating Marietta can be heard in the background. We see Frack just laying there watching this all go down as the other man straddles Marietta and slaps her about. Frack tells her to let him be, to let him calm down, then basically complains about her ruining his Sunday.
Ein Scheißsonntag ist das. Mensch, Marietta, nun trag halt auch mal was dazu bei. Es kann nicht immer nur nach deiner Schnauze gehen.
And then things start to get bad. Cut to Veras stripping Marietta naked as Frack holds her down, then dancing around her with her skirt. He starts touching her body, moving from her boobs down to her vag and taking a good old look before pulling his wiener out. He then sticks his fingers in her, pulling out a bunch of blood which he pops on the end of his Next he fingers his own arsehole, then flips Marietta over and does the same to her, and then pops the fingers in his mouth. Marietta then shits herself and Veras plays with the which is lovely. Ugh, you want to sort out your diet, love. Not even I would eat that. Marietta tries to crawl away, but Veras follows her with the puppet, then pins her down and shits water directly into her face. Well, that's just unfortunate, isn't it? Frack unbelievably has a go at Marietta for teasing Veras as we again see more animals on spikes. Frack says they'll be lucky if they get out of here without any more trouble, thanking God Veras isn't much of a talker. Marietta again tries to crawl away but is stopped and stomped into the mud as Veras laughs. She leans up against this tree, catching her breath, and Veras starts to play and tease her. He then grabs at her boobs as Frack offers more insight into humans.
Oftmals, wenn ich solche wie ihn eine Weile beobachte, bin ich mir nicht sicher, ob sie nicht von oben auf uns herabsehen. Auf alle unsere Fehler und Schwächen. Mach halt mit. Mach doch mit.
Veras then breaks the woman's arm, maybe, and starts kicking her in the over and over while Frack pisses next to her. She starts bleeding, Frack starts and Veras shoves a stick up Marietta's nose. The man then hands the little fella a smoke and he starts to dance as Frack tells the woman to look, advising he likes him quite a bit. Veras then cracks her in the face with this log. He then headbutts her in the causing her to vomit and pisses on her. Varys steps on Marietta's hands, pushing them down into the mud and begins to beat her again as we cut around more dead animals. Both men scream and groan as finally our head is pushed under the surface. Frack then begins to dance as the music rises to a torturous crescendo. Cut to both men chilling out after the madness as Frack smokes and Varys looks out over the lake water surrounded by animal corpses. Marietta is then pulled out of the mud and both men stare at her before putting her on a tree and shoving a stick up her ass as footage of the same thing happening to a pig is seen. She is having a rough Sunday and it ain't even over yet. Varys pulls the stick out of the woman and tugs on the guts that followed as again we see even more dead animals. Varys then reinserts the stick, pushing it all the way through Marietta's body and out through her mouth as the pig's screams can be heard. Marietta's guts are then held up to the sky as triumphant music plays once more. Varys screams up at the sky for a super long time until finally Marietta's corpse is pushed out into the water and we get a shot of the scarecrow sinking into the lake. We then fly away from the scene, passing by many more dead animal bodies and back into nature. Cut to the puppet rising to the water's surface and then to Varys and Frank going their separate ways. We then cut to credits which features Varys dancing around in nature and taking a huge dump. Which pretty much sums up my thoughts on the film. The end! Well, what a load of Blight of Humanity is exactly the type of movie that inspired this channel. No plot, barely any dialogue, and a violent end that most would deem reprehensible garbage. My bread and butter. Unfortunately, Blight of Humanity tips over from being artistic and interesting into just having its head planted firmly up its own arse. While in a way I admire Marian Dora's lack of desire to create art for anyone else's enjoyment other than his own, I still have to say I was not a fan of this one. The story is simple enough, with three people going on a Sunday afternoon walk in the countryside that descends into the murder of the female participant. There's really nothing to add in terms of story, so let's just jump straight into what we think it's all supposed to mean. The way I see it, Frack is God, Marietta is Mother Earth, and Varys is an example of the human race. This journey is God, having created Mother Earth, now showing her an example of his new creation, a creation he has decided will be adopted by her. Over the course of the film, he explains what her responsibilities will be, caring and providing for his creation. As humans are at this stage in new creation, we also watch them as they learn and explore, observing and repeating behavior before eventually destroying the earth that has been provided for it. Frack is the creator and instigator of this union between nature and man, but is not there to nurture a relationship of cohabitation, but rather watch with curiosity as it all falls apart. He does use the term thank God at one point, suggesting he is not the creator but merely the facilitator of this union, like a disgruntled angel who feels no love for either Earth or the human race. But I like the idea more that he is God and has taken on this term and uses it as the humans do. Or he is so conceited that he is thanking himself in that moment. Another question, if Frack is God, then who are his higher ups? He refers to higher management like a board of directors at certain points, and I wonder who they might be. God's bosses, essentially. It would be interesting if Dora was actually referring to the creators of God in that moment, but I don't know, I might be reading a bit too much into it. Another thing to think about is the significance of the many dead pigs we see on spikes throughout the film. Seeing as Marietta ends the film suffering the same miserable fate, it's not a stretch to assume the pigs might represent previous incarnations of Mother Earth. As if God has created this female embodiment of nature, but every time he introduces man to it, man does what it does and eventually destroys, learning nothing in the process, doomed to repeat the same mistakes forever. Either that, or once again it's an excuse for Marian Dora to substitute animal death and suffering for what he really wants to show, and that's human suffering. I genuinely don't know why both films I've seen from the man so far have featured animal death to such a degree, and I'm shocked that he gets away with it. In terms of just surface level enjoyment, I found myself super bored during this one. That being said, there is a foreboding atmosphere atmosphere throughout leading up to the climax that comes with any Marian Dora film. I wonder if that atmosphere still exists for people that have never seen one of his films before. And even the payoff is pretty unremarkable. It's not a ride in the park for Marietta by any stretch, but after such nothing for so long, you expect Dora to really go ham at the end. Instead, all we get is a stick up the arse and her guts pulled out. I could have done with a lot more as always, but even just a sprinkling of violence leading up to the finale would have gone a long way. And she should have gotten way more messed up at the end. Frack shouldn't have pushed her out to float in the lake. He should have poured a bucket of whatever was left of her into the water. But hey, that's just me. The presentation for Blight, however, is in my opinion its strongest element. Some of these shots in this movie are gorgeous, with these foggy vistas of the country turning a usually beautiful environment into a threatening vision of the unknown. Half of the shots in this movie could be paintings, and visually I really had a great time here. Aside from that, everything else is fine. In the end, Blight of Humanity is a competent, if terribly boring, arthouse movie. Even for someone such as myself who usually enjoys this type of thing, you might find yourself struggling to get to the end. The Angels Melancholia is double the length, and I still found that one much more interesting and entertaining. It really is only worth seeking out if for some reason you're a Dora completionist. An explorer of Dora. So that was my review of Blight of Humanity. What do you lot think? Apart from how beautiful I think some of the shots are, this movie more than any other felt like such a waste of time. Even when it got to the good stuff, if you want to call it that, it was kind of underwhelming. That being said, it did make me think about how much having a spike shoved up your ass and out your mouth would suck. Speaking of which, if you want to see Varys's fat completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. There you can gain access to the uncut version of this video, plus others with more stuff being added all the time. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, slasher comic breakdowns, and the Discord. And all that can be yours for as little as $2 a month. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, and do, please sweet heavenly Jesus do, because I need to pay for therapy. And condoms to your mum with, but mostly therapy. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment, and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and to be honest, I've had worse Sunday afternoons. I'd rather this than sitting across the Sunday lunch table from my dad as he explains in great detail the health benefits of ingesting large amounts of semen, while all around him his family sit and act as if he's doing nothing wrong at all, and then shut me out for bringing up his atrocious behaviour. Huh. Metaphor.